Good evening or good day, wherever you're watching this. Welcome to the Growology Grant MDG workshop. I'm really excited to have Kim Yabsley from Growology tonight to share with you all about grants that you can access in Australia. So if you're a small business in Australia, you 100% need to know about these strategies and these grants that can help you to grow your business with funding that doesn't necessarily have to be paid back. So sometimes there are different grants, some of them are loan grants, but a lot of them are just grants that kind of suit different businesses to help you grow, especially in certain areas or certain industries that the government's trying to assist and help. So there's grants for small business all the way up to large manufacturing businesses, exporting. But Kim is the expert of that. So I'm going to let Kim take over now and share with you everything about grants. And just to let you know that at the end of this workshop, so make sure you watch it all, that there's a link that you can book in a free strategy session with Kim from Growology. She is a grant specialist, grant strategic advisor, and definitely the person you want to have on your team to help your small business access those grants and help you take your business to the next level using some grant money. So I'll pass it over to Kim. Please enjoy this workshop. I've seen it before and I absolutely loved it, and I can't wait for you to watch it yourself and just really learn about different ways that you can use grant money to help you grow your business. So over to you, Kim.
Oh, awesome. Thanks so much, Phoebe, and lovely to be here with you and all your people today. Thanks for having me. Can you see the presentation on my screen okay?
Yes.
Perfect. Okay, so yes, as Phoebe said, I am from Growology, and Phoebe and I met each other, I think, last year, and we ran this workshop in person once for some of her clients, and we just got to see how valuable grant information is for people. And so we wanted to make sure you guys all know about something that's around at the moment that could be amazing for you. So first of all, a little bit of information about who we are. So here at Growology, we are strategic advisors. So we help people access grants, not only government grants, but mostly government grants. And we also help with strategic shaping, I guess, of your business and initiatives to get those grants. And why I do that, well, these are my three great loves on the screen in front of me. I probably should have a photo of my partner in there, hey? I better update that. But that's myself and my little boy Archie when we were in Fiji last year. That's our puppy dog Taco in the middle, and that's a picture of me swimming. I'm an ocean swimming enthusiast on the right. Although I have to say, I've relocated from the Gold Coast to Perth, and I'm not doing as much ocean swimming over here because people keep getting eaten by sharks, which is somewhat discouraging. But anyway, these are the three things that I love most. And I know that everyone shows this obligatory slide at the start of a workshop, but I just want to share with you that growing our business with grants has really enabled me to have so much more freedom and time to spend with and on the people and things that I love. And just to give you a bit of an idea of how we did that. So in one of our businesses, we set ourselves the goal. We wanted to build a tech product in a consulting business. And so we created a little game around it and set ourselves the goal of taking that business from 250 in revenue to 2 million inside 2 years. We're not quite there yet, but we will be there by June of this year, and that will be inside 2 years. And we did that using grants as our main growth strategy because we didn't have the funds to throw at anything else ourselves. So we scoped a project out and we got a small state government grant in Queensland to build a prototype, which we did. We then tested that with a couple of corporate and government clients who loved it and got a larger grant to build out the product in a more scalable way. And then we used some wage reimbursement schemes to scale our team and the export market development grant to start selling into offshore markets. So one of the key things that's useful to know about grants is if you really want it to rain money, had to say that to go with my nice fancy Canva skills here. If you really want it to rain money in terms of grants, then it's about stacking different things together and coming up with a strategy that's going to help you win. So today I really want to share with you some basic information about grants, and I want to tell you all about the Export Market Development Grant, which is open right now and is one of the most generous and exciting schemes that the Australian government offers. And I want to give you a pathway to secure funding for that grant if you want to do that. So some fundamentals to start with. First thing to know is that as a general rule, while there are some exceptions, mostly grants are going to cover you for up to about $1 million in funding. Over $1 million in funding, you really need to be looking at bank finance or venture capital. So it's a different kind of model. So up to about $1 million. the three top things I like to make sure people are aware of when it comes to grants is the stats. So to start with, there are 3,000 grants open at any given point in Australia. 30 new grants open every week and 10 grants close every week. So, and that's just Australia alone. So a big part of our job is just doing the research to stay on top of what's opening, closing, and out there. It's a very broad landscape, and I'll show you what that looks like in just a minute. So there's a lot to be done just to stay on top of the opportunities. Average success rate is only 17%. And what that tells us is that you're going to have to apply 5 to 6 times to be successful with a grant. So just something to keep in the back of your mind, because one of the pitfalls that we often notice with small business owners is they'll apply for one grant last minute, or they tried one a few years ago and they either got it or didn't get it, and they never went back and tried for another one. And our success with grants in terms of our own business results has been because we used multiple schemes put together in a strategy. So the other thing to know is that grants are always targeting something specific. Could be an industry or a type of activity or a revenue level or a state or, regional location. They will always be targeting something. And that's important to know because it's also a common pitfall for business owners to be applying for things that they were never really a good fit for to begin with. So I'd just encourage you to make sure that you really read through the guidelines of any grant before you decide whether or not to apply for it, and understand well whether it's a good fit for you or not. Okay, in terms of what the grant landscape looks like, these are the new grants in Australia this week. So there's a total of $54 billion available this week in Australia, and this is the spread of where that money lies and the number of new grants appearing. They're across a range of activity areas, so you can see it's kind of quite diverse, the things that are targeting particular kinds of activities. And in terms of looking at it from the industry perspective, this is the breakdown of it as it sits now. So that kind of tells us that, number one, there's a lot of grants out there and a lot of new grants opening. There's a lot of money available, and there's a grant for almost every activity or industry type if you know what you're looking for. Now, I always include this because people always ask me how complex, how detailed should my submission be? And it's a bit like asking how long is a piece of string. But as a general rule, it depends on a lot of different variables. But as a general rule, think about the amount of money you're asking for. So if you're only seeking a grant that's $5,000 or $10,000, that's probably only going to be, 10 pages long or less. If you're applying for something that's $4 million, which is a recent application we did, you could expect it's going to be a couple of 100 pages or even more. It's going to have some pretty robust evidence and supporting documents in place. In that case, it had like a development application and some landscape designs, architect plans. So it just really depends on the amount of the grant. Now, when you think about, am I in a position to apply for a grant, or what do I need to do to be better positioned for grants in the future? These are the sorts of questions you want to be asking yourself. And I mean, I'm sure as a client or contact of Phoebe's, she would have talked you through this, but you really want to be doing this on a regular basis anyway if you're in business. You want to stay on top of who are my competitors, what are my strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, threats, what am I going to do in the next 12 months? So it's really like taking that deep dive review, looking both backwards and forwards to position yourself well. But you're more than welcome to download our free grants guide, which has not only a listing of most of our favourite and or current grants right around Australia, national and state by state, but it also does have those questions and some tips for how you can position yourself for success. And if you happen to be in the not-for-profit or community sector, we do have a specific grants guide for that one. So that's quite a different kind of setup in terms of applying for grants. So you are more than welcome to grab those resources, and they'll give you some awesome tools and tips to get started. I just wanted to give you another case study about a client of ours who used grants to grow in a different way. So they had determined that they could make an extra $1 million a year in revenue if they could put on an additional 4 people. So their growth plan was all about scaling their team. Each of those 4 people had an estimated wage of $50,000 to $60,000, and the wage cost was estimated to be $224,000 in total. We were able to claim back $182,000 for them between, this was during COVID, so it was at the time when the Boosting Apprenticeship Scheme was giving us back 50% of our wages for the first year. So we used that scheme, plus 2 people were placed in Queensland, which meant they were eligible for the Back to Work scheme, and 2 people were placed in Victoria, which meant that they were eligible for the Victorian Jobs Scheme. So total adjusted wage cost for them in that first year was just $42,000 for 4 people. So $10,500 a quarter for 4 new team members. And they did meet their revenue target of an increase by $1 million. So you can do some amazing stuff with grants, but it's really about, I really want to just encourage you to think about it in a strategic way, like take that step back and have a bit of a helicopter view. Where am I in my business? And I love Phoebe's growth curve presentation that she does, because I think it's really useful to identify, where are we? You know, are we at the leapfrog stage? Are we in the toilet? Like where are we at in terms of business growth, and how can we use grants based on where we're at to help us really get to the next level? Okay, so I want to talk to you now about the Export Market Development Grant, which is Austrade's way of incentivising Australian small business to globalise. And this is good for everyone. It's good for you if you can expand and grow. It's also good for Australia, because export revenue, or sales from other countries, comes back into the Australian revenue pool anyway. So the Australian government is very motivated to incentivise us to go offshore where we can, just as our beloved Phoebe is doing right now. So even though she's living and working from Canada, she's still generating revenue for Australia. So the Export Market Development Grant is available for any Australian small business who either has clients outside Australia or would like to have clients outside Australia. And it operates on 3 different levels based on where you're at with that, whether you have clients or not. So I'll share those with you. I'll just say at the outset, though, that this scheme does exclude clients or revenue from New Zealand and North Korea. Okay, so what does it cover? It offers you a 50% reimbursement across a range of eligible activities, and I'll run through those, but I'll let you know that it is what's called an eligibility grant. So what that means is, if you're entitled to it and you dot your I's and cross your T's, you will receive it. So that's one of the reasons why we love it. It's a little bit complex to pull together in terms of your submission requirements, but it is eligibility based, which is great. So it covers overseas representatives. So that could be anyone that you are paying in another country, like affiliate fees, commissions, anything you might be paying for someone to help you grow your business or sell in another country. It covers marketing consultants, which includes any PR, collateral development, website building, flyers getting produced, branding specialists you're working with, anyone that you might be working with to help you grow internationally. So that could even include Phoebe, for example. If you're working with Phoebe as a coach, then you would be able to claim her fees because you would be presumably working with her to help you grow your business. Same as people like us. If you work with grant strategists so that you can expand and export, then that's definitely covered. It also covers overseas trips, but not just your airfares, your accommodation as well, and a daily allowance of up to $300 per person at the executive level. It also covers any samples that you might give away, and this could include, probably important for you over there at the moment, Phoebe, if you are running any workshops for free to give people an idea of, you know, how they could work with you, then you could claim the cost of those at your fully costed rate. If you're in products or e-commerce and you're sending samples out, then definitely those as well. But also for those of us in service-based business, if you're doing work for free overseas, that's considered samples, and you can be reimbursed for half the cost of that. Trade fairs, seminars, in-store promos. So if you want to head overseas and go to an industry event or something like that, then your membership to that industry body would be covered, your travel, obviously, and also your seminar attendance. Any promotional material at all. So even if you're hiring a US copywriter to help you enter the US market, then something like that is covered. But also any flyers, brochures, pull-up banners, anything like that that you're producing to help you market overseas. It also covers you bringing international representatives into the country. So say you have a factory and you're producing products here and you want to fly someone over from another country to have a look at what you do and how you do it, then you can be reimbursed for that. It covers trademarking, registration, and insurances to help you get started in other countries. And it covers any, at level 1, excuse me, any training and education. So any coaching, any mastermind programs, anything like that that you might participate in if you're at tier 1. So let me tell you about these 3 tiers. Now, each tier is suited to a specific type of applicant, and I'll run you through those. And each has its own sort of upper level reimbursement amount. And because it's an eligibility-based grant, everyone who applies gets a slice of the pie. So I'll give you the figures for the upper levels, but it's important to just keep in mind that those could change dependent on the number of people that apply each year for that level. So tier 1 will give you a maximum of $40,000 reimbursement. So that's if you spend $80,000 or more, or half of whatever you do spend if it's less than that. If you're not currently exporting, so you don't have any clients outside Australia, or you only have clients in New Zealand or North Korea, but you'd like to explore the potential of growing elsewhere. So you don't ever have to generate export revenue. That's okay. You don't have to prove that it resulted in anything, but you want to explore the potential for your business to find clients elsewhere. Tier 2 is for you if you already have clients outside Australia and you can demonstrate that you have export revenue. And tier 3 is the highest level, and this is for you if you have clients outside Australia, you can demonstrate revenue from other countries, but now you're making a strategic shift. So you might be selling new products or services or entering other countries that you haven't been to before. Tier 3 will give you a maximum of $150,000 reimbursement if you spend $300,000 or half of whatever is less than that. Tier 2 gives you an $80,000 reimbursement if you spend $160,000 or half of anything less than that. And tier 1, as I mentioned, $40,000 if you spend $80,000 or half of anything lower. So that's how the tiers work. Just in terms of the process, applications are open now this week, which is why we're bringing you the information now. So you only have until the 14th of March to apply. And you submit a budget now and a few other bits and pieces, which tells the government what you're planning to spend your money on in the next 12 months. They'll go into a period of assessment and then provide you with your approval if you are found to be eligible. If you're level 1, they will usually deposit the money into your bank account shortly after approval. If you're level 2 or 3, you spend the money and then you apply for reimbursement at the end of the financial year. So once you've made your claim, you will then, regardless of what tier you enter the scheme at, you will report at the end of the financial year. And that's just to say, yes, we spent the money the way we said we were going to, and this is the result it produced or didn't produce in our business. Okay, so what do you need to do when you're applying? You need to submit a profit and loss with your application. You need to provide a balance sheet. And if you're trying to apply for level 2 or 3, you need evidence of export revenue. And that could be a printout from your CRM or from your bookkeeping, or it could be an accountant's verification that just says, we can verify that approximately 20% of the revenue for this business is export revenue. You also, and very importantly, need to provide a to-market plan. This is like a commercialization strategy. If you're working with us, we do this for you, but this is just the way that you tell the government, this is who we are, what we're doing, who our target market is, the areas we think we're going to spend money on, and how we're going to reach our clients. And this is the budget that we anticipate spending. So we have put something together for Phoebe's clients. If you want to work with us to apply for the Export Market Development Grant, we are offering 10 spaces only at a 10% no win, no fee guarantee. So we just ask you to pay $997 up front as a deposit. We will do all of the work for you. We will have 2 quick meetings with you for 15 to 20 minutes, one to capture your information and one to run through your submission, make sure everything's accurate and get your approval. And then we submit for you and manage the process as your consultants. And I think we did about 60 of these last year and we were successful with everyone. So we are an appointed Austrade consultant, which means we have a 0 error rate. So we only work with people we know are eligible, and that's how we're able to offer you the no win, no fee guarantee. So in the very unlikely case, which has never happened yet, that you were unsuccessful, we simply refund your deposit, but you will be successful. And then what will happen is we will just send you a subsequent invoice for the remainder of your 10% of whatever we secure you at the time that you're notified of success. So feel free to drop over there and leave your details if you'd like to be included in that. If you would like to talk more with me about this grant or any grant in general, you can click on the logo here, and that will allow you to drop into my calendar and make a time to talk. If you're watching this on recording, I don't know if that works, but we'll send through the link so that Phoebe can make sure you guys have got it for both of those options. And Phoebe, unless you have some questions for me, I think that's about it.
I was just going to clarify, Kim, with the EMDG. I don't know if it's EMDG grant or EMD grant. So when was the actual date you had to have the application in by? You said
Applications are
14th of
open.
March.
Yeah, applications are open now. They close the 14th of March. However, there
It's
is,
March now, sorry. So
oh,
do you
sorry,
mean
it
April?
yeah, 14th of April, sorry.
14th of April.
Yeah. However, there is quite a bit of work to getting your application prepared. So you'd want to be kind of in the system by the end of March.
Okay. And then the funding comes through before 30 June, or is it?
Yeah, that's the intent. So last year, the applications happened late after the open of financial year, and it created a bit of uncertainty for people because they were still finding out in November or December whether they had money for that year. So the things they had estimated they would spend money on or events they might travel to, it was too late. So this year, they're trying to do it early. So the intent is for everyone to be notified ahead of the financial year so that you can start spending with certainty when the new financial year hits. And generally at level 1, your funds will just be deposited straight into your bank account, and then you provide the acquittal and some evidence of how it has been spent at the end of the financial year.
Okay, so if you're level 1, do you say we think we're going to spend 40, our budget is 40,000, so they'll pay 20,000 to you,
That's
and then you
correct.
do the acquittal. And so anything, if you didn't spend the full 20,000, you just have to pay back, I'm guessing, the
Yeah,
balance.
that's correct. But last year there was a lot of new people applying at that level 1, so the reimbursement went down from the maximum 50 to 10,000. And so they just deposited the 10,000 in all tier 1 applicant bank accounts. So
Okay.
it will just depend. In previous years, they have done a split, like half at the start, at the front of the year, and half at the end. So it's kind of assessed dependent on the number of claims each year.
Yeah, so it's probably, even for tier 1, it's probably good for clients that are thinking about it because you don't actually have to have any clients overseas right now to
Yeah,
apply. Is that
that's a really
correct?
good point. So you can claim this grant 8 times in total, and you can claim a maximum of $770,000 with it. So I always encourage people, if you would like to market outside Australia, or you've ever thought that that might be a good idea, jump in at tier 1 and use that opportunity to, engage someone to help you develop export pricing strategy.
Yeah.
Yeah, like that's the opportunity to jump in, or get yourself a coach who can work with you to help you identify whether international growth is a good option for you or not.
And I love the fact you can also spend it on marketing consultants. So if you're like, even if you've got an existing, say, coaching business or online course business or something like that, but you want to tap into, say, the US market or the Canadian market or the British market, and you can get a Facebook coach or someone who actually can help you tap in and do the marketing in those countries would be a huge, I'm assuming it would be a big win.
Yeah, absolutely. And the other thing that can be really good is like validating the market in other places. So we will use it this year for ourselves to look at the mining sector in the US, Canada, and South Africa, because we have
Okay.
developed tech products specifically for that market. So rather than spend, $50,000 marketing in Australia, we'll probably spend $50,000 validating the size of the market in the US using a consultant, and then we'll market there because we know that we can get back half of everything we spend. And then
Yeah.
we'll come back to saturating the Australian market once we're more established in that market.
Yeah. And I guess as a business, the US, I guess, and the Canadian markets are probably so much bigger than the Australian market. So you've probably got a
That's
lot
right.
more chance of having that success as well. So really, if you are just even thinking about it, toying with the idea, it's worthwhile. If you've got a product that you can export, whether it's serviced or a physical product, it's worth having a chat to you anyway, isn't it, really?
Yeah, absolutely. It is one of the more generous schemes that's around. And, because it is the government's way of incentivizing us to grow outside Australia, they are quite lenient with how it can be used. So it's almost anything
Mm.
that helps you to grow.
Mm.
Just
Yep.
not, the way to think about it is just not business as usual costs, but any cost that anything you might be investing.
Additional. Yeah.
Yeah, that's about, I wonder if I could do this. I wonder if I could grow. I wonder if I could employ a coach.
Yeah. Yep. So I was just thinking, like, obviously America's got such a big market and there's probably a lot more industry specific events over there too that you could attend. So the cost to actually attend those types of events, see what other people are doing, and make connections and everything over there would be, that's a great way to kind of start looking at growing your business as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And even for your clients though, Phoebe, they would if they're going to work with you into the next financial year, they should be claiming their costs to work with you because
Mm.
this is all about helping them grow and expand, right?
Yeah, 100%. And I was just, because I've just been obviously within Canada now, looking at the kind of different businesses over here and what they do. And I found this really fantastic girl that creates a called Make It Happen, and it's for creatives. So if you make jewelry or you make toys or clothes or anything like that, so it's kind of more of a crafty type big expo that they do in Vancouver with looks like 300 plus stalls. So that'd be a fantastic way to, register for something like that where you can actually, if you've got like a product-based business that you make, you could register for a stall, go there and just see what the Canadian market or because I'm sure we're quite close to the US border as well. There probably a lot of people from the US would come up as well. So it'd be a really great way, something like that where you can actually test the market before, potentially having a
Absolutely.
physical shop or whatever else like that. And if it covers 50% of those costs, plus your flights to get here, plus probably to connect with the girl who runs it.
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely. And I'll give you another example that's like that. One of our other clients is they are academics. They've produced a book and they do cultural awareness training for Indigenous communities. And they were
okay.
planning to go over to Canada and attend an industry thing over there anyway. And so what they've decided to do is we've put together a strategy where they're going to run a couple of workshops at
Mm-hmm.
universities, and they'll run them for free, but we will claim the cost of their workshop as a sample, and then they will give away some of their books and we'll claim the cost of those books at retail as a sample, and then they'll be able to
Mm-hmm.
claim back 50% of their travel, accommodation and that daily allowance at $300 a day for up to 21 days. So it means you
Right.
can put all of that together to go and really explore whether there's potential for you somewhere else.
And I was just then, what was I going to say? Oh, what if you do access it, say at tier one, because you're starting to think about you would like to take your business international and you do that and then it works out that it doesn't work and you don't get any international clients. Is there any kind of risk for a business in that situation?
No, because we know that sometimes when we're exploring it, that tier is actually its official title is preparing to export. So obviously,
Okay.
in the preparation and exploration phase, sometimes we determine that it's just not a viable opportunity for us, and that's fine. There's no
Okay.
your only obligations, I guess, are to acquit against the approved expenditure. So if you said
Mm-hmm.
and what that looks like is you submit a little report that says, yes, we went over to Canada, we went to the quilting expo. It turned out people don't like quilts in Canada. We didn't sell anything as a result. So they just ask you some questions. Did you generate any revenue? Was it what you expected? Was it more or less? And that also is helping Austrade to determine whether this is a useful investment for small business.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so they capture your revenue impact, I guess, of the grant in that way, but it's not a requirement of the grant that you produce export revenue. It is a
Okay.
requirement that you provide evidence that the money was spent the way it was approved.
Yeah. Perfect. Okay. That sounds great.
Yeah.
Thank you, Kim. So anyone who's watching this, because I know a lot of people are watching the replay, make sure, I'm going to send this out to my database. It's going to be big. So if you want us to kind of grab one of those sessions with Kim, make sure you scan that code because there's only 10 on offer. So make sure you grab that and register with Kim to connect to do that EMDG. I don't know if it's EMDG grant or EMD grant.
Call it
Whatever.
the EMDG.
The MDG, if you want to touch base with Kim about the MDG, make sure you register with her because obviously 10 spaces are going to go pretty quick. So it sounds like a really powerful grant to really start exploring whether you could take your business international. And with Australia, the market's really quite small. And if you're already successful here in Australia, the chances are that you could be really successful by taking it to another country, especially somewhere like America or Canada. I mean, I was just in an Uber this week going to a conference here in Canada, and I was chatting to the Uber driver, and his wife was selling products on Amazon. And I mentioned Canada. He's like, no, 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 she doesn't sell them in Canada. She sells them in America because the market is so much bigger down there. So really tapping into a market like America. I don't even know what the population is. Would you know what the population is, Kim?
I didn't have a clue.
No, but like millions and millions and millions. Canada's relatively the same size as Australia, but if you can tap into that American US market, you're really untapping a huge, huge potential for your business and getting the opportunity to have things refunded, especially when you're in the exploratory stage, especially if you can get 50% back in those. So it's not as big a risk to the business of having to have the cash flow to fund all those expeditions and the meetings and the consultants and all that kind of thing. If you can get money to help you with 50% of those costs, that's a huge cash flow win for you to actually start exploring a huge market. And if you could tap into that market, it could unlock huge profit potential for you and your business. So definitely secure a spot with Kim before those 10 spaces run out. And I'm going to be securing one. I want to chat to Kim about that further. So make sure you do that too.
And 335 million people in America.
335 million. Whoa, that was a quick Google. So I think there must be like, how many million is there in Australia? Like
Oh, I knew you were going to ask
Google Australia. Okay, let's Google
that.
Australia and Canada. So 335 million in
26 million in Australia.
26. So it's probably very similar for Canada. So 330, let's do got my trusty calculator. 335
The accountant is
million.
working out the population increase.
Yep. Okay. So even if you got 2%, say, of that US market, that's 6.7 million new customers potentially for just 2% of the US market.
It's amazing. Canada is
And even if it has 37,
Canada's 38.
38. Okay. And if you said, say you sold a product that was $100, let's do this. So that's $670 million potential revenue. So 335 million people in the US, if you secured 2% of the population for a $100 product, that's potential another $670 million in revenue.
That's amazing, isn't it?
That's huge.
Just mentioning super quick for your people as well that there is a scheme in Australia that provides short-term finance for export as well. So the export finance loan, it's not a grant, it is a repayable loan. But for some people who say, yeah, we've got export revenue now, we want to go in for the export market development grant, but we need the money now. It's a problem for us to wait till the end of financial year to claim it back. You could look at using the export finance loan to provide that cash flow in the short term. So it's a 12-month loan that gives you, at 6%, I think it is. So it's quite low. So a lot of people use that to cover that short term. So they might borrow 150,000 and then they get that 150,000 back at the end of the year to pay it back. So sometimes you got to bridge that gap between, where you are now and getting the reimbursement.
Yeah. And that's, I guess, the great way of having a chat to you, Kim, and your team is because you know about all these different grants that people can access where, you talk to me and I've probably heard like a little bit of surface, I've got the surface knowledge of a few different things that I've probably chatted to Kim about previously. But if you actually have a one-on-one session with Kim, and she really can understand your business and what it is, she'll really know that, okay, well, there's the EMDG, the EMDG that you could access, but there's also this loan scheme and there's potentially a handful of other grants that you could potentially access as well.
That's right. We really look for where are the 5 or 6 that are going to be a good fit for you in the next 12 months so that you can get some solid money in.
Yeah. Yep. And I know because you started this business really, Kim, because of the personal experience you had with growing your previous business. It's not a previous business, it's a different one, but your existing business in the tech space.
Yeah, it still exists. That's the story of how I became an unexpected tech startup. I just wanted a solution to a problem in my strategic consulting business. And the solution that I came up with just happened to be a tech product. And I had to figure out how to build that tech product with no money to invest in it. And so I used grants, as I mentioned earlier. And I just realized along the way, because I am kind of a strategist first and foremost, that people don't have that understanding of grants. It's a strategy and you pull in different kinds of grant schemes to help you achieve the goal. So it really is a whole small business growth opportunity or strategy using grants. But like any other growth strategy, it requires consistency and commitment. It doesn't work if you just have one go at like a $20,000 or $30,000 grant. You've got to stay consistent and plug different things in at different times to make it work. But over a 1 to 2 year period, it can be really effective.
Well, yeah, it's actually chatting to a girl here who's got a tech startup as well, and she was saying, she pretty much is just, looking at all the different grants and accessing it. So it's an amazing, grants really are like, I'm in Canada now, but Australia has a lot of grants on offer, as Kim mentioned at the beginning of the presentation, that if you can tap into that and have someone who can actually help you strategize it and make sure that you're accessing that, because you can get discouraged, can't you? If you spend all this time as a small business, you're wearing so many hats as a small business owner, that if you do spend, say, 5 to 10 hours of your precious time trying to apply for some grant that ends up not being the right fit and you're not successful with it, and then you do it again and maybe you do it again. So after 3 goes, if you're not successful, you pretty much probably give up. I would say, on looking at grants, you're like, I'm spending 30 hours of my time, which I could be spending in some other capacity. But when you've got someone on your team who actually, like Kim and her team, that knows what they're doing, knows the grants that you could specifically access, and can help you put together the grant application so that you've got a much higher chance of winning, it's a much better use as a small business owner of your time and also your resources, than trying to do it all yourself internally. So look, I recommend, if you watch this call and you are interested in grants, just book in that time with Kim to have a chat with her, because it really is a fantastic way to help grow, access resources that can help you grow your business. And it's not necessarily just cash. As Kim mentioned in the other one, it was also the employees, so helping to fund employees, helping to fund consultants, helping to fund marketing strategy, whatever it is, you can use it in all different ways to help you take your business to that next level, and growth. And don't necessarily have to pay it back either. Like, there are ones you have to pay back, but it's not like the bank. Like, I know a lot of businesses that think the only way for them to start growing is to get bank loans. And once you kind of become indebted to the bank, or to any other kind of loan, financier, I guess, because there's lots of different ones coming onto the market now to help finance, but a lot of them have got really high interest rates. And at the end of the day, it's their money and they want it back, and they'll do anything to get it back, including close your business down. So be really careful of how you do access funding for your business, and grants can be an amazing strategy to help you grow your business. So talk to a professional, book the time in with Kim and her team, and get the help you need to help you grow your business. That's my 100% recommendation from today.
Oh, thanks, Phoebes. All right. Well, you all have a fantastic weekend, and I look forward to speaking to you again soon.
Thank you, Kim, and thank you everyone for jumping on today and watching the replay, and we'll see you all very soon.